Hello, everybody. I have 10 simple life maxims to present to you today, but before we get to them, I want to clarify who doesn't need to listen. There are two headings of people. The same people can often be found under both headings, who don't need to listen to this advice or any advice, really. The first group are people who have decided to be raging a-holes. As you know from your own personal experience, some people are raging a-holes and they don't know it. They have no idea. And maybe they'll listen if it's tactfully put to them, and maybe they won't. But they don't consciously try to do it. But always in life, and I would say especially since 2016, there's been a group of people who very much want to be a-holes. They want to do the rude thing. They want to spite a crying child who's reaching out for the baseball that has flown into the stands that's coming right to them. They want to spite that child, not just to take the baseball themselves, but because they like the feeling of being horrible. They like that feeling. If you're one of those people, then life maxims to improve your life and the lives around you will not be what you want at all. You want to lessen, you want to worsen the lives of the people around you, so you don't need to watch this video. And the other group of people who don't need to watch this video are the people who are under the impression that they are immortal, that they're living a handful of decades here on Earth, and then they're going to live eternally somewhere else. And so it, A, really doesn't matter what they do here in this world, and B, therefore it doesn't matter what they do to other people. They'll make it all right with the jailer for that other world down the line, but they don't need to worry about it now. Like I've said, in your experience as well as in mine, a lot of times those two people are the same person. But I wanted to specify that before we jump into the list, and we will jump into the list with number 10, which is read. Your first secular commandment here in this list is read. It deepens you. It broadens you. It is the only surefire, fun, and reliable way to intensely multiply your own personal experiences without actually having those experiences. It's a marvelous thing. It was described to me once a long time ago as the greatest adventure of them all, and that's absolutely true. You should read for pleasure. And keep doing it. Make time for it. Don't expect that just because you know how to read. I, for instance, am making this video in the United States, where I think the latest poll and study indicators show that a third of our adult population actually knows how to read. Just because you know how to read, don't assume that that means reading time will happen on its own. It won't. You have to make time for it, but it's well worth time to do. Maxim number 2 is move. And here, actual exercise would be preferable, but any kind of movement is necessary. And here the distinction would be that actual exercise is double heart rate for 15 consecutive minutes or more. So if it's not the same thing as taking the stairs, right? I've heard many people say, well, I need my exercise, so instead of taking the elevator back from lunch, I'll take the stairs. That's just exertion. That's not exercise. When you're exercising, you'll know it. Believe you me. And it, of course, is preferable because it releases all kinds of chemicals in your brain and also flushes out a whole bunch of nerve and muscle toxins that mere exertion will not do. But even mere exertion, even just moving around, a vigorous walk around the neighborhood, if some physical condition prevents you from exercising, a mere vigorous walk around the neighborhood once or twice a day will do wonders and is really, really essential. So move is our second precept. And the third maxim is behave. And this is really a reflection on self-control. Not to get all stoic-y on you, but you are the final arbiter of what you do and don't do. Yourself. You control your own actions. You control your own speech. So, in all circumstances where it applies, remember that fact and control yourself. If you are complaining at the end of a day that 2 hours of your time has gone to a pointless video game, or even worse, just scrolling mindlessly on your phone, well, that's nobody's fault but yours. You can control that. You can control whether or not you reach for something that's bad for you. whatever that thing is. You have control over whether or not you reach for that thing. You have control over whether or not you start to reach for it, and you have control over whether or not you stop to do it. But it's not just things that are bad for you, it's also bad things that you do. If you're in some sort of personal situation with maybe a person who gets on your nerves or has power over you in some secular way, you have control over how you act, and you should exercise it. Because if you don't do that, you're a child. And the reason why so many people are so eager for childhood to be behind them is because it's a benighted, horrible state where you are a powerless puppet of everyone around you. Better to leave it behind. Control yourself. You'll be amazed at the benefits that accrue. The short-term dopamine hit of not controlling yourself is nothing compared to the long-term benefits. And as long as we're talking about the long-term, we can move on to maxim number 7, which can be stated succinctly as wait. Wait on permanent decisions when you are very young. Don't make permanent decisions when you are very young. For very young here, we can stipulate younger than 25, 23, something like that. In your years younger than that, don't make any permanent decisions, because the odds are overwhelmingly likely that you will regret your permanent decisions that you make then. So don't make them. Wait. Wait in the massively serious drug addiction that is being floated to you at every party. Wait before you addict yourself. It's easy to do and almost impossible to undo. Wait before the endless tattoos, like a circus freak. Wait when you're young. They'll seem the coolest thing, and also you will be biddable when you're young. Wait on the crippling alcohol addiction. Wait certainly on offspring, but also the military. Wait on permanent decisions. Wait on gigantic permanent decisions when you're very young. Don't make them, no matter how appealing they look. Then maxim number 6 is, we can succinctly boil it down to the one word: stand. And here I do not mean literally. Some of the most courageous people that I've known in my life were not physically able to stand. What I mean here is not that you have to fight. You do not have to fight, but you must resist wrong. You must resist evil. You must not sit silently. Whether the evil is big or small, you must not just sit stoically in silence on the sidelines. You must act. You must stand for it. I don't mean going out and protesting. If that's what you want to do for a cause you sincerely believe in, not for something that is just for virtue signaling, but for something that you sincerely believe in, and go ahead and do it. But I mean the everyday things, the everyday little things. Don't wait on them. Don't offshore them to somebody else. You're only here for an eye blink of time, as we're going to get to. So stand for things while you are here. So if you're on a crowded city bus and you see a parent or a nanny or a caregiver slap a child across the face, don't just mumble to yourself. Act. Intervene. It's become very fashionable in the 21st century to say that that's none of your business and that you shouldn't do that. That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. You should. When you see wrong being done, you should intervene. You don't have to intervene physically, but you should intervene. If you see something like that on a city bus, if you're walking through a crowded parking lot on a boiling hot Texas day and you see a dog locked in a car with the windows up, act. Don't leave a note on the car, hoping that someone will see it in the 10 minutes between now and when the dog dies, is cooked in a convection oven. Act right away. Walk into the store and tell the store manager to go on the intercom and get that person to their car in the next 5 minutes, or you're going to break the window with a rock and take the dog. Now, you might say to yourself, oh, that's going to open me up to so many headaches. I mean, what if the owner sues me? Well, what if the person who was slapping the child, I don't know, sues me? What if somebody sues me? What if I get sued? Standing involves risk. You should not be silent in the face of wrong, even if it involves a nuisance lawsuit. I'm talking here, remember, to people who do not believe that they're immortal. If you don't believe that you're immortal, then it stands to reason you believe you're mortal. And that means you're going to have a life to look back on at the end. unless you're very, very lucky, you're going to be dying long before you're dead. You're going to have a life to look back on. You don't want those dying dogs and those helpless, abused children looking at you in that moment. If they're seeing you at all in that moment, you want them to be happy to look at you. So stand. And along those lines, we can get to the next maxim, which is to help. Help. And no matter what you have more than somebody else. So help. Volunteer. Donate things. Advocate. Search out for opportunities to do these things. Search out for opportunities to give a little of your time, your most valuable commodity. And boy, oh boy, I know how in short supply it is. But you have enough to give. And you should. Help others. Volunteer. Change something that you can. And then, speaking of change, that would be our next maxim, which is could be boiled down to the simple word change. And that is really a way of saying keep changing. Test your certainties. Question your certainties. Learn new things. Expand who you are on the inside. This is connected to the earlier maxim about behaving. You have control over all this. Who you are, the set parameters of who you are and what you like and what you don't like and the way you like certain things, that's all you. You did all that, and it's all plastic. You can change it, and you should. Constantly be working on that. Constantly be working on changing yourself, adding things to yourself, expanding viewpoints, changing certainties. That is all incredibly worthwhile. And we can move from that. That is very internal, and it's very nebulous. It's very intangible. We can move from that to the tangible for our next maxim. Our next maxim would be prepare. And this is mostly practical. You could expand it to the intangible in that you should be prepared for adversity or misfortune. Internally, without knowing what the misfortune is, you should be prepared for those things, definitely. But I'm talking here more practically. This is more along the lines of number 9, which is move. And prepare, I mean things like have spare keys to your doors made now, do it now, and put them somewhere that is not in your home, but that is accessible to you, somewhere that's not normal, that's not immediately guessable, where you know where it is, where you can access it if something goes wrong with your own keys or you lose them somehow. Stock a pantry with non-perishable goods and constantly rotate them according to their expiration dates, and keep in mind to keep doing that. Once you've started it and you've got a bit of a pantry of stuff going, I would say aim for a couple of months worth of stuff. Once you've got that going, it's a nominal expense to keep it going. You just need to replace stuff that you think might not be good anymore. It's a nominal expense to add. You can add a few dollars to your grocery bill every week in order to get this started. What I'm talking about here is for you to have a reserve of food and water in case the normal distribution vectors of you getting those things breaks down for whatever reason. It's just a good idea to have. So prepare in that sense. Have a set of keys to where you live somewhere other than where you live, other than on your person. Create a pantry. Make space and create a pantry. There are all sorts of beginner introduction videos online. You will not be led astray on how to do it, what to fill it with, how to rotate it. You should have a couple of months worth of food and water, if possible. Water being 1 gallon per person per day. So that might take a little more space, maybe a pallet in the basement or something like that. Or maybe don't go for a full 2 months there, maybe just a length of time. But better than filling a bathtub. Something better than that. And in addition to that, as long as we're talking about something disrupting those supply chains, you should also have what's colloquially known as a bug-out bag, and you should keep it updated. And it doesn't have to be a bag. It can be a box, although ideally it should be portable. Something that has basics. Very basic stuff. All in one place that is easily grabbable in case you need to get at it quick. You might not need to get at it quick, but you want the ability to make fire. You want a reliable transistor radio for if the internet and normal broadcasting routes go down. You want some sorts of tarps to protect your stuff and also to protect yourself from the elements. A very good basic first aid kit. A couple of very good, very strong, spend the money, don't go bargain hunting, knife or all-purpose tool of some kind. A water filter. Be a very, very good investment to put in your bug-out bag. Again, just look around. There are plenty of advice videos out there to find the best kind of water filter or the best kind of knife or whatnot. But you want fire, warmth, shelter. You want backup supplies for medicine in case the worst happens. You don't know what that worst might be, but better to have it there and have it prepared than not to have it. So do that. So that would be maxim number 3 is prepare. Make sure that you have access to your house if access is temporarily denied. Make sure that you have situational awareness in an odd place or a dark place. Make sure that you're not just concentrating on your woes or on the next immediate thing that you have to do with your hands. Make sure you know where you are and who's around you. Make sure that you have, for instance, somewhere in a place that you can get to it, a stash of cash. And again, I'm not making rich person advice here. I'm a freelance book reviewer, so I'm not making rich person advice here. It's easy to do incrementally. A little bit here and a little bit there, and sooner or later you will have a nest egg of cash that you don't touch that is not part of a banking system, and that will not suddenly be inaccessible to you if a banking system goes down. Make sure that you have an emergency bag, a bug-out bag of some kind. Make sure that you have a well-stocked pantry, just in case. It's the just in case, it's the what if scenario that I always raise with friends and also online. If you were cut off from all your normal routes of resupply for 3 days, how would that be? Picture what that would be like. 3 days. 3 days with no water coming to you from anywhere else. 3 days with no food coming to you from anywhere else. 3 days with nothing. No source of light, no source of shelter. 3 days. How would that be for you? For way, way, way too many people in our intensely interconnected world, that would be disastrous, almost life-ending. Don't be that way. It's easy to avoid. So that is number 3, is to prepare. And then we will do the last 2, which are the biggies. And number 2 is create. Don't just absorb the creations of others. As pleasant as that is, of course, we started with reading. That is pleasant and that is enriching. That is wonderful. But don't just do that. Create something as well. Give back into the world. Make something. No matter what it is, it'll be something that only you can make. And it's owed. You owe it. Because you are who you are from absorbing the creations of others. You have to pass on that. You have to pay that forward. So, and also it's a lot of fun. Tremendous amounts of fun. So maxim number 2 is create. Whatever it is, make something. Something that you need not think that it will outlast you, but it might. And if it outlasts you, it may ignite inner realities in someone you've never met, someone who's not born yet, someone who won't be born for thousands of years. You don't know. The key is don't be a clogged drain. You've taken all this stuff. You've absorbed all this stuff from other people. Create some of your own. And that leads us to maxim number 1. The foremost maxim of life here. If you are not dedicated to being an a-hole, and if you are not under the delusion that you are immortal. And maxim number 1 is give. Always. Give. Give endlessly. Unless you are very, very lucky, you're going to go out of this life exactly the same way you came in. Naked, helpless, and bawling, covered in your own bodily fluids. Unless you're very lucky. Unless you're lucky enough to die like a light switch going off. That's what's going to be like for you. And that's going to happen in about 10 minutes. And I don't know if you've ever seen that happen. Quite a few people that I know in the 21st century have never seen a person die. But they don't take anything with them. You don't take anything with you. All this stuff all around you that's giving you so much pleasure, or maybe annoyance if you're moving it all around, none of this is coming with you. None of it is. Not all the money, not the stock portfolios, not the possessions, nothing is coming with you. Because you're not going anywhere. You're a collection of neural impulses that are created by oxygenated blood flowing through your brain. The minute that blood stops, your brain starts to shut down. And after a while, except in rare freak show medical examples, after about 10, 15, 20 minutes, there's no coming back. Even if you could somehow animate that brain tissue again, all the stuff that was stored in it would be gone. Like the negative of a photograph. So that's where you're going. You're not going anywhere. You're ceasing to exist. And that means, by definition, you're not taking any possessions with you. You're not even taking yourself. You're going nowhere. You're just ending. I'm not saying, therefore, that stuff around you should not have value, that people around you should not have value, but the stuff should have a lot less value than the people. And you always have more than someone else. So even if you can only give your time and your attention, maybe that's enough. Do you pass somebody? Do you know somebody in your neighborhood? Do you have an old folks home or a hospital in your neighborhood where your attention would be the best gift in the world? And if so, what do you tell yourself? I don't have time? I can't work it into my schedule? Well, you should make time. The most important thing on this list is to give. Give all the time. Especially the petty little stuff. If you have something and somebody has made it clear to you in honesty without trying to huckster you, that thing would give them 100 times more joy than it gives you, give it to them. Give it to them. Don't even hesitate. You'll find something else, or you'll find that same thing again. But we should always be in the process of doing that, of giving. And that is the final maxim here. So those are your 10 maxims for life, provided you are not an a-hole and provided you are not under the impression that you are immortal. We have covered the list. Read, move, behave, wait, stand, help, change, prepare, create, and most of all, give. So there you go. You may now go. Dominus vobiscum. Thank you, everybody.